This short presentation offers advice on your upcoming report. You should have received feedback from your formative and are, hopefully, well into your research by now. Reports are different from essays. They're often much more practical. You're given a specific problem and asked to investigate and ultimately find a solution to that problem. In contrast, essays can be much more theoretical. Essays are usually only written in an educational setting, to pass a module or demonstrate learning, for example, whereas reports are written in lots of circumstances and may well be part of your professional life. They also differ in structure. I think you get to be much more creative in reports. You can display information, data or evidence in the way you think is most appropriate. So you're encouraged to include illustrations, graphs and diagrams. You can use bullet points and provide signposts for your reader by way of headings and subheadings. Report structures matter, but people can become really stressed by them. It's easy to spend more time thinking about how to number your subsections than putting together your argument. It won't lead to a very good report though. The structure is largely dictated by your topic and the way in which you decide to discuss the key issues. You're given specific instructions within the module handbook. Make sure you keep referring to these and include each section that you're expected to. A good introduction will set the scene for the reader, providing them with background details and the context. It will define any terms and convince the reader of the importance of the topic, and it will make clear the contents that will be covered in the rest of the report. There are probably a few different ways you could organise the main body of your report. So long as you have a logical reason for the choice you make and you convey this to the reader, be confident in the decision that you've made. Remember though that you can't really decide fully on your structure until you've completed most of your reading. The main body should present your findings, but it needs to do much more than this. Discuss what your findings mean. Try to explain them using theory. Think back to what you know of health behaviours, relevant psychological theories of addiction or masculinity perhaps, sociological theories of gender or power. Your conclusions summarise your findings and discussion for the reader. If you set out a series of aims and objectives in your introduction, it might be a good idea to answer them here. This will show the reader you've done what you set out to do. Make sure that you don't include anything new in this section. If it's an important issue, it should be in the main body. The final section is where you consider the implications of your report. What can and should be done to improve the health and well-being and access to services for your particular client group. Be practical in your proposals. Acknowledge any potential barriers such as training or finance required. And don't make unrealistic suggestions. Perhaps even include discussion of why these proposals are likely to be effective. It's important you get the technical details as accurate as you can. This shows a level of professionalism and care, and it makes a good impression on your marker. Go through your reference list several times and make sure it matches your in-text references. Ensure you've provided a title and reference for any diagram or graph you include, and make sure you explain the meaning of the data within the text. Your report should be written in a clear, formal writing style. Think about your audience. You're trying to present information and explain what is happening with your client group to educated healthcare professionals. If you're trying to make a particular argument, do so by presenting convincing evidence, not through emotional or charged language. Aim for maximum clarity. It's often best to use shorter sentences and take out any extraneous words. Compare these two extracts of writing. They say the same thing, but the second one does so in a much clearer, more precise style. And finally, our top tips for this assessment. Ensure your client group is well focused. Not too broad that you're trying to cover too much, but not so narrow there's nothing to discuss. Hopefully your feedback will have given you some advice on this. Also make sure that you're using credible references, so research papers rather than popular sources of information. And finally, know how your work is going to be marked. You're given a lot of detail on this in the module handbook, so go through the marking matrix, make sure you understand it, and aim to get a really good pass. If you have any questions or wish to discuss the report, please get in touch with the Learning Development Centre.